Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Pegasus Edge 20. These are our 20-minute training sessions that are built to improve your business with sales tips, product information, and just general concepts that we feel are valuable and can help. Today, we're going to be talking about a very popular subject, judging by the number of people who have registered and attending today, and that's AI, or artificial intelligence. Now, AI has been in the news constantly. And the question everybody keeps asking is whether it's going to replace us. The short answer is no. I'm not going to keep you waiting. Not today, at least. But it is already changing what a productive agent looks like. And there are a few ways that you can use it that will get you in real trouble or make your life much easier. And in the next 20 minutes, hopefully, I will give you an idea of both. Now, there's going to be a fully underwritten guide that's going to be coming at the end of this presentation. So put your pen and paper away and just sit back and relax for the next 20 minutes. I am your host, Justin Moya, and before we get started, if you are on the live training, go on to the top left. You're going to see a chat bubble. Click on that chat bubble. Please send me your comments, your questions, and I will make sure to answer all of those after the presentation's finished. You'll either get a phone call from me directly or an email. And if we get enough questions or enough good information or requests, I will go ahead and put all of those into a single document and send it to everybody that is attending today. Now, I really want to be honest with you. This isn't going to be a tech walkthrough or a full tech video. I'm not selling some kind of software, and I'm not even really recommending some software. Nobody is going to leave here and be an AI pro or master. In fact, that takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, and tell me about it, a lot of mistakes. But what you are going to leave with are tools that you can use to get back more time and help you build a better practice, as well as what can get you into real trouble. So here's the agenda that we have. We're first going to start with the 3 red lines that you should not cross. Because if you take nothing else away from today's training, these are the 3 things, and we're going to go through them first, because these can get you into some real problems. Then we're going to talk about one real case example that shows kind of how scary this can be if you get it wrong. And then I'm going to give you 3 quick wins that you can start using AI for this week to help, maximize your time or get some new ideas out. And then finally, we're going to be talking about what's happening here in Texas and a little bit of Medicare, how AI shouldn't be used in the Medicare setting. Now, I'm focusing on Texas because that's where we locate it. However, if you're in California, New Mexico, Arizona, Florida, Tennessee, Indiana, one of the other states that we actually represent and have agents with, double check those laws because each state is passing new laws in the way that AI should and should not be used for business. Okay, so let's talk about the first kind of 3 red lines you should not cross, or the 3 rules. Okay, now this isn't Pegasus or myself, Justin, being super cautious. These are items that state and federal regulators, the insurance carriers, and I'm going to bet your E&O all happen to agree with. The very first is going to be do not put your client data in the cloud. Do not put your client information in a chatbot. Do not upload a client list with dates of birth or social security numbers or any of that to the cloud ever. Remember, if you're using things like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Google, all of that information does not live on your computer. It gets sent to those companies directly. And most of those companies, especially if you're using the free tier, are getting trained off of your data. So all of that information is in. In fact, there was a story, I want to say it was 6 months ago, where, and it was a chat GPT thing, but they would create a URL that you could share that chat with somebody else. Now, there was a leak. Somebody figured out that they could just put in random characters into these URLs and pull up real chat history, and they could see everything that's in there. Remember, this is still new, and we don't have fully functioning BAA, agreements or HIPAA privacy that is HIPAA first that's built into these. Now, if you do have a company that says, hey, our AI is HIPAA compliant, make sure that you're signing the correct BAA or any of the, appropriate privacy terms that make sure that you are 100% compliant, because this can be a huge red flag. Now, most of the time, we don't even mean to do it. We're not thinking. Maybe it's a Friday afternoon, we have an application, or we have a medical report, or the client sends us medical records, and we type in all of that information in just to see, right? Summarize this for me, or give me some ideas, or something along that line, and we send it. Boom. That's the violation. The second that your client's name or health details hit ChatGPT or your AI agent, they've left your control and they're now sitting on somebody else's server. Now, here's just kind of the real test. If it identifies a real client, it doesn't go into the cloud. Plain and simple. Okay? You don't have to memorize a regulation. If you see a client's name, if you see a client's date of birth, just do not put it into the cloud. Now, I do get asked all the time, well, what if I just remove the client's name on it? And that's a good instinct, but you have to be careful, right? A date of birth, a zip code, a health condition can still be used to actually identify somebody. So, whenever you're going through and you're trying to anonymize data, make sure that you're really anonymizing the data. Just don't go in and take a PDF and white it out and upload it into it. Extract the information yourself, make sure you know what you're typing, and then you can put it in. It may take a little longer, but it is going to help you. The other thing that you can do is you can use on-device AI tools that you control. And this is, by the way, a free option. And we're going to give all of that information to you at the very end. You don't have to pay anything for this. It's going to be in your handout. It runs on your own local laptop or your desktop. None of the information leaves your machine. You can disconnect it from the internet and it'll still run. And that's probably the most compliant way that you can work with real client data if you are going to use it in AI. But be warned, it does take quite a powerful computer. Now, I know many of the newer Apple machines can handle some of these smaller models. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty beefy machine if you want to go ahead and implement these. So if you have a child and he has one heck of a gaming computer, you might be able to convert that over into a local AI machine. But remember, Apple products are great. Some of the new Windows machines and even those old gaming computers can definitely help you out on that one. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Two, a licensed human has to review every decision. So remember, you are the licensed agent, not the computer. So whenever you're putting in client, I shouldn't say client information, but scenarios. Whenever you're putting in, hey, I've got a guy type of thing, or help me create a marketing piece, or summarize this material. Remember, it's going to do its best, but you are the last kind of stop to make sure that that information is accurate. Now, we have heard of AI having what's called hallucinations. That was a little harder for me, but what that means is sometimes it just kind of fills in the blank with what it thinks is the best, answer or the next best, words in a sentence. Doesn't mean it's absolutely correct. And we've even seen news articles where, attorneys are getting into some severe trouble because they're citing cases as they're going to trial, and those cases actually don't even exist. Now, as time has gone on, the systems have gotten better, but it's still not great. So remember, if you're putting anything out, you're putting your name on it. In fact, here in Texas, TDI, Texas Department of Insurance, just recently put out an AI bulletin, and it applies to agents and carriers directly. And the expectation was just clear as day. If AI has touched a decision that affects the client, a person must review it before it goes out. Plain and simple. Now, Think of this like if you hired a brand new assistant, and the brand new assistant is really fast, right? Sounds confident, but is wrong, let's say 2 out of 20 times. Would you let that person be emailing information out to your clients? Let's say they get the quotes wrong 2 out of 20 times. Are you really going to let that assistant sit back and make sure that you keep pushing out that information? You could lose a client. You could get sued. Or very worse, you could have some kind of a fine that's built out for it. So if you're a newer agent or you're newer to AI, just make sure that you're trusting yourself. Make sure that everything that the AI pushes out is correct. And if you have any questions on is this or is this not correct, give us a phone call. We can kind of talk through it with you. See if maybe there's something new that you found out. Call the carrier that you're working with and talk to their marketing department. See what they have to say. So just make sure you're doing those checks. And then finally, you have to disclose AI content. Okay. Now, let's say you can clone a voice for $20 a month now. There are systems that you can do it, right? Well, somebody's going to turn around and ultimately pitch, well, we can put your AI generated voice with all of these answers, and you can call out prospects by themselves, and it's going to go ahead and help you with your prospecting and really cut down the time and blah 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 blah. Or you can even create AI content on YouTube, for instance, or you can create AI content using things like HeyGen. Oftentimes that can actually lead to an issue. Now, if you're doing social media marketing and you're using some of those tools, that's fine. Just make sure again everything is accurate and complete. But if you're using it for robocalls or text backs or any kind of voicemails or anything like that, just know that a regulator, the state or the feds can actually pursue a violation. There is no robotic calls that are allowed. And I've been reading where there are pretty much serial plaintiffs. That's literally all they do now is they sit back and they will go out and they will fill out forms that don't have the correct verbiage or disclosures. They wait to get a phone call and they keep you on the phone and they even sound interested and they record the entire thing and then boom, you're getting hit with a $10,000 fine. And they're doing this all day, every day. So make sure that all of the stuff that you do is 100% correct. Now, if there is an AI voice on the other side of it or a robot, even worse. You can have even bigger fines and penalties just based off of that. Okay? So it doesn't matter where the information comes from, whether it's a static page, excuse me, or a chatbot on your site. This is why you always have to make sure this isn't a theoretical, it's actual law. Okay. Now, the story that we have was in back in 2024, and this is when AI was still kind of in its infancy. Like I said, it's gotten better and you can use it to train. So if you're using a chatbot, great. But a man, his grandmother passed away, and he went to Air Canada's website. And their chatbot told him that he could book right then and he could apply for the bereavement discount afterwards. Well, this was wrong. Air Canada did not have a bereavement discount. Most airlines do not, right? It was misused so many times, or maybe they just wanted to get rid of it. Well, when he asked for a refund, Air Canada said, no, we're not going to give you a refund on it. And essentially, it was the chatbot that got it wrong. And they blamed the chatbot. Well, it was the chatbot, it was wrong. Anyway, he ended up creating a lawsuit. And he sat back and he actually won. He won because they said there's no difference between information on your website and information from your chatbot. It's all yours. And Air Canada had to pay the fine. That's big. So if you give wrong information because your AI chatbot just automatically put it out, or if you have one of those cool features and you put it onto your website, or some of them are now coming into, I've seen them on link trees or even, WhatsApp, and you have a bot that's syncing in and actually answering back, and it gives a wrong reply, that could be grounds for the client to turn around and say, well, he told me he was the licensed agent. This was basically his representative, and they have a solid case. So make sure, again, you touch everything before it goes out. And by the way, if you did make a mistake or something like this happens, your E&O carrier is not going to cover that. Those are usually restricted or excluded from your policy. Okay? Now, let's talk about three quick wins. Again, we're trying to stay within the 20 minutes. Now, every one of us has been stuck staring at a blank screen, whether we're trying to write a follow-up message or a new email going out, or we're trying to explain something. Or maybe we're thinking about new ways or ideas that we can market, or creating a new flyer, and we're sitting here and none of the templates are working great. Well, now that blank screen is gone. It's not that AI writes better for you. Usually it's kind of bad in its first draft, but it can start getting your creative juices flowing, or you can implement certain templates or ways that you want to talk, or you can upload a number of different responses that your chatbot, or I shouldn't say chatbot, but your agent can actually review from and pull at a certain period of time, automatically pasting them into your email. The difference between a generic answer and a useful one is usually the context. Okay. So, whenever you're sitting down and you're trying to draft or repurpose a content, really make sure that your prompt is doing well. So, always start off telling it first off what it should be thinking. What's the goal of the project? Let it know that you are a licensed agent in wherever, Texas, California, right? Tell it that you have a 64-year-old that's about to, maybe age into Medicare, or that is looking for life insurance. And then tell it to write very plainly. We usually use what's called the RISE framework, and that's going to be built into the handout, right? And it stands for the response, and just different ways that you can get the prompting correct. Then review what the answer is. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What should be changed? Again, you're going to review it like you have a brand new assistant. You might type this up, bring it over to me. I'm going to review it, be the editor, and change anything that needs to be complete. And then if you need, repurpose it, right? Once you spend all of that time creating this information or response or something, save it. You can turn it into an email template. You can add it to your list of responses for later. You can create different things so, it's going to really cut down your time in the future. And that's really where AI is. It can help you from the very beginning, but maybe you're spending a little more time than usual, but that extra time is going to save you so many more hours on the back end. Quick win number two, safer meeting notes. I love my note taker tools, but some of them are not compliant, right? Again, it's uploading that conversation to a third party server, and then it's automatically turning that around and feeding it back to me. So if I'm recording something and it has the client's social security number or date of birth or anything like that, that AI note taker like Otter AI and Firefly or even Crisp may not work so well. So, what do we do from that? Well, many tools actually use local AI to process it. And you can take a look. You can look on, your phone and see where it is. Or there was a new app that came out, and I think it's for both. I think it's for iPhone and Google. It's called Google Edge Eloquent. And there's a specific button on there that says, "Hey, turn off the cloud transcription. Only use it here." And what it does is it will literally listen to you and transcribe all of that into a message. The other thing, oftentimes your voice recording notes, like on your Apple iPhone, or your Samsung will actually record and transcribe everything locally. I know that the new Apple AI is going to try and do a lot of processing on the phone itself. Now, you're going to have to get a new phone, unfortunately, but these are the tools that are really built for compliance first. So if you are using any of these, just make sure that your recordings don't leave the device, or if they do leave the device, it doesn't have any of that information in it. One smart thing is you can actually record everything right off of your Notes app. It'll automatically transcribe it, at least it does for Apple. I could just copy that transcription, review it, and then use that for a summary or my next action steps or things like that. And then finally, you got to set up your AI right? Spend some time. So if you are new to AI, or if you are trying to build out a system, spend some time going through your profile. Okay, this is something that nobody does, right? Maybe we like it and we decide, hey, I'm going to upgrade for about 20 bucks. And that's it. Like we're talking 20 bucks a month and we're going to get a nice little assistant. But then they never actually change anything. They're hoping that the memory that they've been using over all this time has kind of done it right for them. So whenever you open up your bot, just make sure that you go through and save information. Right, you're putting your name, your state license number, the products that you sell, your market, so your target market. Tell it what type of tone you want. Do I want it to be friendly and professional, excited and energetic? Which be careful on that one. Do I want it to be very safe on compliance? Do I want it to check everything first? And you can literally have the tool say, listen, before you write anything, make out an action plan, then go check, with the California Department of Insurance compliance site. If we're talking about a specific company, pull the information from this website, or you can upload, agent guides or brochures or a number of different things, just to kind of almost fact check itself before it gets to you, to really help cut down on that review process. So you should really be pushing for that compliance line. I'm going to tell you, always be compliant, always try and be factual, and then that will help any kind of pushbacks. You can also sit back and use the tool to be, not as agreeable. Sometimes it can make you feel like you're the smartest person in the world. You can turn around and say, hey, be a little bit more confrontational or argumentative, or come back at me with a very, non-confident tone. And it may come back and say, well, I'm not sure if this is going to work, or I don't think that's going to work, or maybe we should try it this way. So really play around with the settings. There's a million YouTube videos and you can get going that way. Now, let's talk about rules where you sell. Again, we're going to be talking more about Texas, but there's a lot of rules, and especially if you sell Medicare, remember you are the TPMO, not your bot. So you are required to make sure that all disclaimers and all of the messaging that your responses are generated, or generated responses must have. Okay. So right now, TDI again just launched its latest bulletin, and it applies to everybody. All right, it applies to carriers and the representatives, which includes you. Now, we've already talked about the expectations that everything must be reviewed, but there was one extra sentence kind of passed in this AI law that took effect January of this year. The penalties and the enforcements are real, and it actually runs through the Attorney General's office. So again, if you need to know more information about something or make sure that it's correct, reach out to the carrier, reach out to us, and let's see if the template or the marketing thing is correct. Also, sometimes it gives you some wrong information. It'll tell you you can market a specific product or you can market a specific feature, and that could get you into some hot water. Remember, go off of compliance and make sure that you're here. We also have, if you're in the Medicare side, a full Medicare compliance officer that you can actually work with, talk to, and get through. Now, let's talk about the starter toolkit, right? You don't need all of these you just need to pick one, maybe two. There's many different things that you have out there. You have ChatGPT, Claude. Both of them have their own different writing styles and prospects and different ways you can do stuff. You have Microsoft Copilot that already works inside of Word, Outlook, Teams. So if you're looking for more generation ideas or creative ideas, use that. Perplexity AI. It really does check a lot of sources, and it's really built more on like writing. Okay. And then you have your local solutions, which is like LM Studio and Olama. You're going to have to go figure those out. If you have some questions, you can let me know, but you can use that for client data. And then you have your Canva AI. If you have trouble creating pieces or marketing materials or social media posts, Canva AI has been absolutely a big game changer. Now, before you leave, here's a couple of things you can do. On your first day, go out, download, pay your $20 or whatever the fee is of the one that you chose, and set up your profile, your background, your market, your compliance rules, everything that you want. Then pick one niche. If you want to focus on final expense, let's start focusing on final expense, on term, on IUL, and ask the AI what questions the market has about your products. And there's different modes in there. You can actually set research or web search or whatever it is, and tell it to go out and look at different things like Reddit or Quora or different forums or things like that where questions are being asked often, and it'll tell you what the main questions that are asked over and over and over and over and over again. And then that way you can actually help manage, like let's say a frequently asked questions or a guide or a brochure that you can start pushing out and answering those questions and using as a lead magnet. Draft the follow-up response using the RISE framework from the handout. I'm not going to go through that fully. It's in the handout. Now, by the way, that handout, which we're going to be talking, should be available for you to download on the left-hand side. You should see like a little arrow. Click on it. You can download the entire guide. And then the other thing is join two groups where your clients are active. If you're on Facebook searching, working with single mothers, find a single mothers group. There's a million out there. If you are going after business professionals, go into LinkedIn, look for business professionals. If you're going after certain hobbies or different things, go out there and start finding different places that your clients are and see if you can comment or get this thing going, right? That's going to be in the second week. Now we have more of this. I think it's probably like if I can remember, a 12-page guide, 10-page guide. This is a nice little starter guide that you can use on setting up your box. It's going to talk about our three red lines. It's going to talk about the AI video and voice tools, all of that information. Click it, download it. It's there. It's available for you in both English and Spanish, and get started today. Now, again, if you have any questions, top left, go ahead and ask them. I can help, I can make suggestions. And if you guys want to see more about AI in action, or maybe setting up your own agentic box or server or system or personal knowledge management system, let us know. There's so many things that this, new innovation has created, and there's so many tools and money wasters and things that you can just kind of completely get sidetracked. Now, make sure when you're talking with your client, you're doing things that AI can't. Listen to your client, build trust, and show up, right? We need to make sure that we're using it to enhance, but not replace. And the best thing that we can do today that AI cannot is make sure that we connect with the client, we answer correctly, we're trustworthy, and we're physically there when they need us. With that, I'm going to let us all go. I know I'm a little bit over, but thank you so much. Please keep an eye out for next week's training and invitation, and we hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.